Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Dr. Clarissa Shaw. I am a dentist living in Southern California, and welcome to my wedding series. In this series, I'm breaking down different aspects of my wedding, vendors I used, experiences I had, things I wish I knew, all of it. So in today's video, we're going to be covering the process of finding and buying my traditional white wedding gown. I'm going to talk about my experiences shopping for my wedding dress at Lovella Bridal, and I'm going to be talking about my gown and the designer. The gown is by Australian designer Leah Da Gloria, and I'll be sharing those experiences with you as well as the alterations process. If there is a specific topic that you're really interested in and you want to skip some of the other fluff, you can take a look at the timestamps in the description box. I promise I'll try to put as much in there as possible. And without further ado, let's get started. So when you are looking to buy your wedding dress, the first thing you're going to want to do is look for inspiration. Magazines used to be really big, back in the day, but now I would say Pinterest is like the number one source of inspo. And I mentioned in another video what I would do for the wedding is I would create private folders on Pinterest, and I would categorize them by the different types of inspiration I had for the wedding. So I had one folder for wedding dresses, one folder for wedding cakes I like, one folder for the flowers, and this will allow you to organize them a little better instead of just having one album that says wedding and you just shove everything in there. And when it's time for you to, go look for that vendor, it's going to be a hassle trying to go through the entire album finding those specific photos. So I started on Pinterest, just kind of getting some ideas. I honestly had no idea what I really wanted for a wedding dress. All I knew is that I didn't want it to be too puffy and, big, and I also didn't want it to be like too skinny or like too form-fitting and like sexy. I kind of wanted something that was in the middle, a little more classic. So I actually ended up trying on about 50 different wedding gowns. I went to, it feels like 101 different bridal appointments, downtown LA, Torrance, Glendale, all over, Orange County. And I wasn't really liking any of the wedding dresses. I'm not going to lie to you. I did have a wedding dress trial at Lovella Bridal, which is where I ended up getting my gown, and that was sort of at the beginning of my wedding dress search journey. Now, I chose Lovella Bridal, or I went into Lovella Bridal initially because I saw a dress on Instagram that I thought was just so gorgeous. It had this really big fluffy train. So when I went into Lovella, I already had in mind that that was the dress that I wanted to try on. My mom and I went in one day. I tried on that dress. That was the first one I requested. It was just by Inez DeSanto. I tried it on, and of course, I fell in love with it. It was so gorgeous. And then I turned around and I asked the attendant, I said, well, how much is this dress? And she says, oh, that's a solid 10. And I was like, 10? Like $10,000 for this dress? My mom, literally, I see her making eyes at me in the corner, like, don't you even think about it. And I was like, I'm not thinking about it. I'm not thinking about it. So needless to say, that's the only dress that immediately when I tried on, I was like, oh my God, this is the one. I could totally get married in this dress. Of course, I'm going to freaking like the $10,000 dress. So advice I've been giving my friends now is, first off, every single bridal shop is going to have a range of prices of dresses that they carry, which I didn't know. I didn't know that Lovella Bridal carried kind of more couture, like expensive designers. So the first thing you want to do is you want to ask the price range. And if it's something that's like not even in your budget, you're like, I'm not even thinking of spending that much money. Like, this is my number, this is my cutoff, this or below, then I would suggest only going to places where they have dresses that are in that price range. Now, Lovella Bridal does have less expensive dresses. Clearly, I didn't spend that much money on my dress. But had I known that the dress was that much, I would not even have requested to try it on, because why fall in love with something that I know I'm going to say no to? So that's my first piece of advice. Only like once you decide on your budget, or even if there's like a range, try to only go to places that have dresses that are in that range, just so that you don't like let yourself down or like get heartbroken, because it is kind of an emotional process, like looking for your wedding dress. We have, you know, so much built up in our minds about how it's supposed to be and how you're supposed to feel, etc., etc. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, when you're there, just confirm. I would just say like, hey, this is this and below. Like, don't even show me other dresses, because they're also sales attendants, right? And they get percents of commissions from dresses that are sold. That's, you know, how they make their money. So of course they're going to want you to buy a more expensive dress, and they will try to upsell you. That's just the name of the game. So I would be very clear with where you want to be in terms of that. So that's the first thing. Figure out where to go, what the budget is, etc. Now, when it comes to deciding what your budget is for a wedding dress, no one really can have that answer for you. It's just really what you're comfortable with, what you and your husband and your family are comfortable with. I feel like even if I wanted to spend that much money on a dress, I don't think I could. And I always have my mom's words in the back of my mind, where she was like, okay, it's going to be like, let's just use the example of $10,000, right? Because that dress is $10,000. It's just obscene. But she was like, imagine if you got a ring that was $10,000 more expensive. Like, that'd be a big effing diamond, and you're wearing that every single day. She's like, imagine if you take a $10,000 honeymoon. That's like you're honeymooning for 1 month. Like $10,000, you put that as like a freaking down payment for a car. And there's so many other things that you can use to spend that money or spend that money on. And it's kind of hard, because weddings it's also a little bit irrational, right? Like, we save, and we work, and we want to treat ourselves to things, but it can very quickly have a snowball effect. So just kind of be cognizant about that. I think everyone would say that the number one thing with regards to wedding planning is like budgeting, figuring out a budget and then sticking to it, because trust me, it always ends up being a little bit over that budget. Now, I want to chirp in and say that I have always stood for this, and I will continue to stand for this, like, for the rest of my life. It's not about how much the clothing costs, or it's not about the designer. Like, you're the one that makes the dress. You're the bride. Like, it's you. You're what people care about, and the dress is going to look gorgeous because it's on you. So you don't need to spend a ton of money on a dress. You could very well buy a dress that's pre-loved and have like the best experience. And my cousin, actually, her wedding dress was Monique Lullier, who is a very expensive designer. I think the dresses can retail from between like $8,000 to $10,000. And I think now with inflation, probably even $12,000. And my cousin bought her dress on a reselling website. There's several ones. There's some called like Still White, I know is a big one. There's a few other ones, but she went on a pre-owned website where brides decide to sell their wedding dresses, because after they get married they have no use for them. And she bought her wedding dress, I think that was valued at $8,000, for $2,000. And then even better, after she got married and wore it and cleaned it up, she sold it. And I can't remember, I think she either broke even or she sold it at a profit. So essentially it was like her wedding dress was free. So that was something that I had in mind as well. I looked all over the reselling websites. I couldn't really find anything that I liked. And I'll share that story a little bit later, where I did end up finding the dress that I wanted to purchase from Lovella Bridal on the reselling website. And I was this close to buying it, but I didn't for certain reasons that I'll go over at the end of the video. Now back to the story. So I try on this amazing, gorgeous dress that has this huge train. I'm in love. It hugs me in all the right places. It cinches the waist. It had like boning. It was just amazing. And I was like, okay, I can never justify spending this much money on a dress, nor do I want to. So I asked her to show me some other options. And one of the other options was the wedding dress that I ended up purchasing, and that was Celeste from Leah Da Gloria. And what I really loved about this dress was the train. The train was super long. That's what initially drew me to the original dress as well, is that they had these just jaw-dropping trains. And I liked that the dress was, you know, tight in all the right places, very figure flattering, kind of sexy with like a little bit of cleavage, but not too much, just super, super tasteful. And at the time I had tried on, I would say like 5 or 6 dresses at my first Lovella appointment. And I just remember all of the dresses being expensive, or I said, oh, I don't know. And I would take pictures of myself in the dresses, and my mom would take the photos, you know, of me, and I would go home. I would never make a decision right off the bat. I would go home and I would think about it, and I thought to myself, if I'm still thinking about this dress like a week later, then I know that this is the one. And I would look at the photos, you know, kind of like during my time off or like in between classes, because I was in dental school at the time. And I would kind of just see if I got the feels in this dress or for this dress. So after that, I didn't visit Lovella Bridal, I would say, for another like 4 or 5 months. I went around to all different parts, like I mentioned, trying different dresses, trying to fall in love. And I actually did really like this one other dress that was, you know, below budget. I think it was $1,700. It was beautiful. And I tried it on twice. I was about to put a deposit down, but I decided not to order the dress because my parents didn't approve of it. The dress had a slit running up one leg, was super sexy, super modern, and they were like, no, like, we want you to be more conservative, and, you know, you're having your wedding in a church and family. And I was like, okay, fine, I will get this dress in. Also, I would need to get a spray tan probably because my legs are like so white. But anyway, I ended up not buying this dress, but it was so beautiful and pretty affordable. So after about 6 months of searching for a wedding dress, remember I had a 1.5-year engagement. It's been 6 months since I was searching, and I thought to myself, oh God, I think I'm gonna have to get that dress. Not the original one that I was in love with, but like my second choice, which is the one that I did end up getting. Because I remember she gave me a price range, and I don't want to say exactly how much it was. Fuck it, I'll just say how much it was. Okay, I thought that she said the dress was $6,000, which to me was still very expensive. But I was like, what the hell am I going to do? I don't like any of these other dresses. I tried to see if I could get the dress made, and I was hearing horror stories of people who they said absolutely not, it didn't come out that way. Ordering it from, you know, whatever retailer, it didn't come out that way. I had another friend of a friend who did have her dress made, and it was gorgeous, but she had to fly to Mexico to meet with the designer, I think like 3 or 4 different times for her fittings. So the dress was cheaper, but I would make up for the cost in travel. So I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm gonna have to get this $6,000 dress, which I really did not want to do because, like my mom said, you wear it just once. So I ended up calling Lovella, and I asked them, how much is that dress? And they have everything on file. And she said, oh, actually it's $4,000. And I was like, oh my God, $4,000. Like that's a big difference, like $2,000 less than I wanted to spend. Really, I was wanting to spend, my initial budget was like $3,000 and below. And I felt like that would give me like a pretty wide range. But I was like, okay, if it's $1,000 over, I'm not a huge fan of spending that money, but I thought to myself, you know, I could always have it, I could always resell it after. Which I may do. I'm not sure. I'm still not sure 100%. But another thing that really, you know, helped was that year was my first year working. So I only worked for half the year. And because of that, I got a really nice tax refund at the end of the year. So I ended up using my tax refund to help pay for my wedding dress. But before I decided to make that decision, I looked for that wedding dress on the reselling websites, and I found one on Still White. And I was messaging the owner of the dress, and I was about to buy it, but a couple of things were stopping me. First off, she was listing the dress at $2,700, so that's pretty expensive, and it's only $1,300 less than what it would be to buy it retail, brand new, like made for me essentially, or unaltered. The dress that she was selling was altered, and she was only 5'2", 5 feet 2 inches tall, and I'm like 5'3" and a quarter, almost 5'4". So the dress, her dress, would have been short on me, and in addition to that, she altered the train. She had to shorten the train, and I was like, oh my god, like, why would I even buy this dress then? Like, that's the only reason I want it is for the train, and I'm gonna have to, I don't know how much to try to get this dress to fit me, like, in length. There are no refunds for if the dress doesn't fit when you buy on those websites, so you have to be absolutely sure that that's the dress you're gonna, use, otherwise you're out that money. So I was just like, okay, let me go back to Lovella. Let me try that dress on. And I did, and the second that she put it on, I was like, okay, this is it. Like, this is my wedding dress. I'm very satisfied with it. I think it's beautiful. Nothing else compares that I've been trying on. I haven't liked anything, and I'm gonna order it. So I placed the order. I believe you have to pay in full when you order from Lovella, and it takes about 6 months for your wedding dress to get in. So I ordered it, I would say 6 to 8 months before the wedding, because I still needed a couple months for alterations. Now, here's the boo-boo that happened. And it's not 100% Lovella's fault, them as a store, as a company. It's not their fault. It was their sales associate who maybe was not 100% experienced. But when she took my measurements, I have kind of like a larger derriere, and when she took my measurements, the top part, the bust, the waist up was a size 4, and for my hips region, I was a size 6. So I was in between two sizes, and she said to me, let's go with the 4. It'll work. And it didn't work. The dress came, and when I went to go pick it up, I tried it on, and it was too tight on my butt. Too tight. I couldn't walk. I couldn't sit. And for you, any ladies that have like some pushing for the cushion and the booty area, you know when something's too tight, it like squishes your butt and it makes it look kind of deformed. Like it like flattens out the cheeks on some part, and then the other part, it like, it's a terrible shape. It's not flattering at all. And I was like, oh my god, what the hell am I gonna do? And the ladies were like, oh, don't worry, you can let out the seam. You can let out the seam. Like, the seam's just, she'll work it. And I was just kind of like, are you sure? Like, I don't know if I should trust you. But you have to sign a paper saying, like, oh, everything is good. I'm going to pick up the dress. And I was like, okay, the wedding is in, like, 2 months. I don't have time to wait for another 6 months for this, a brand new dress to be sent to me. So I was just like, okay, I'm just going to take your word for it. I signed for the dress. I take it to my seamstress. So thankfully that wedding or the bridal shop, they used to do all of their tailoring in-house, and they discontinued that. So they had a list of preferred vendors that they recommended for alterations. And the vendor that they recommended me to, her name is Focus on the Bride. The establishment is called Focus on the Bride, and her name is Marcelle, the seamstress. She is amazing. She actually was closer to my home, so I ended up going with her, and I told her the whole story. I went out on my first visit, I tried on the dress, and she was like, I cannot believe that they told you that you could let out the seam. She said, there's no seam to let out. And the seam was 1/2 inch. It was like made to fit that size 4. And I was like, oh my God, what can you do? Like, can you do anything? I'm gonna have to walk around like, have you seen that video of Kim Kardashian like trying to get up the stairs when her dress is so tight? I was so scared that I was gonna have to just go with it. So she ended up putting her thinking cap on. Marcel's super, super talented, like I mentioned. She used to be a bridal designer for TV. It was one of those bridal shows where you have to design the whole, like the bridesmaids' dresses and the bride's dresses and everything done in 1 week. And then you've got like the head designer guy. So anyway, she did bridal stuff for TV. So she knew what she was doing. So she came up with a creative idea to put gussets in the dress. And what a gusset is when if the seam runs down the side of the dress, you open it up, you split it open, and you put a piece of fabric, you sew a piece of fabric in between the middle to give more room. Now, the problem with that was that she said, you're gonna see it, so we're gonna need to put like lace or something over that area. And originally I had said, I want absolutely no lace, nothing. I don't want any like embellishments. I want the plainest, most like classic dress, like just a classic fabric, and that's it. I didn't want like anything sparkly or crystally or anything like that. So I kind of had no choice, and she brought me a couple of lace samples. Some of them had some little beautiful like, you know, embellishments, and other ones were plain. And we kind of just looked at them in the mirror to see what we thought would go better. And to my surprise, I loved the one that had like the glittery lace. It turned out to be so beautiful. So I said, okay, let's go with this one. And then she was able to make me a custom veil using the same lace that we had put on the sides of the dress. She put the lace all around the veil. And the veil design that I chose was a cathedral veil. I wanted one that fell down in the front and that was very long. So the veils go with different lengths. Cathedral veil is one that's like really long. And I needed that because my wedding dress train was really long too. So I wanted a veil that was going to extend a little beyond. So I'll add some photos to the video to show you guys what the final dress alterations ended up looking like. She was able to add some bustles to the train so we could bustle the train up for the reception. The cathedral veil was beautiful. It cascaded, waterfall cascade in the front. It was long enough to cover the train in the back, and it had that matching lace all the way around. And when she opened up the hip area, the dress ended up fitting like a glove, and it was perfect finally after a lot of stress. You can just imagine you're so worried about everything else that's going on. There's like, I felt like I was being pulled in a million directions, and I didn't have enough of myself to give to all of these things. In addition to wedding planning, I was just going through like a lot of personal stuff, which I'll probably share later, but not yet. And this was just one more stress that I did not feel like I could handle. So thank you, Marcel, for all of your help. I hope that watching this video, you guys kind of know what to look out for. Always, always size up. She said it's better for it to be too big and you can take it in than too small, because it is very, very difficult to take out the dress. Like I mentioned, I know this is not a direct reflection on Lovella Bridal, but they did need to train their sales associate a little bit better, especially when we're talking like high-priced gowns. This is not the swap meet. Like, this was an expensive purchase, and they kind of fudged it on that. Do I still recommend going there? Yeah, of course, but just you as a consumer, like, be as educated as you possibly can be, because no one is going to be looking out for you the way you're going to look out for yourself. 100% true. So once again, just to recap, I purchased my dress from Lovella Bridal in Glendale, California. I got the Celeste gown by the designer Leah Da Gloria, and I believe in total the gown was about between $4,400 and $4,800 after taxes and everything like that, which is pricey, but it's not as pricey as some of the other gowns that she offers. And again, if that's something that you want to make an investment in, just know you always have options after. you can resell it on a resale website and make half of your money back. So if your budget is $2,000 for a dress and you get, you know, let's just say theoretically you bought that one or you got one that was like $3,500, when you sell it back after or sell it to, you know, another bride who will love it just as much as you do, you can make some of your investment back. So it's just about like conscientiously, you know, shopping and having a plan. Okay guys, well, I am done rambling. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel so you can get alerts for all of the future videos for this series. I'm going to be doing a home series after I'm done with my wedding series. So take care and I will see you guys next time. As I'm editing this video, we are now almost at 2,000 subscribers, and I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much for your support and all of your beautiful, lovely comments you're leaving me. I'm trying to respond to every single one. And I'm just super excited to, you know, be on this journey, beginning this journey with you guys and sharing all of my experiences and just building like a little YouTube family.